You're still at the office? Elena's voice came through the phone, soft, tired, a little cold. Yeah, I said, rubbing my eyes. Just one last fix before the pitch tomorrow. You said that yesterday, she replied. And the day before. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. That's what building an empire looks like, remember? Late nights, cold coffee, and a dream. I don't want a dream, she said quietly. I want you. The silence that followed hit harder than any deadline. Elena, I started, you know why I'm doing this. Everything I'm building, it's for us. I know, she said, but her tone didn't sound like it. Just don't forget what us means while chasing it. Before I could reply, the line went dead. The office lights flickered as I leaned back in my chair. Ryan strolled in, grinning like he owned the place. You're still here. Man, you're obsessed. Someone has to make sure this launch doesn't crash, I muttered. Relax, genius. He tossed me a can of soda. You'll fry your brain before you even get rich. I cracked it open. Says the guy who leaves at 6 and somehow takes credit for everything. Hey, he laughed, holding up his hands. Credit is just good PR. That's what worries me, I said, smirking. Ryan leaned on my desk, lowering his voice. Look, I get it. You're in love, you're driven, but you're burning out. Elena's got that look, like she's waiting for you to crash. I froze. What look? The one people have when they're not sure they're still part of your plan. I didn't like how that sounded. She's fine. We're fine. Ryan shrugged. If you say so, boss. Later that night, I drove home to find Elena sitting by the window, her phone glowing in the dark. You're late, she said without looking up. I told you I'd be. You tell me a lot of things, she said, locking her phone. But your promises and your presence rarely meet. I dropped my bag and sat across from her. You think I enjoy this? Every hour I spend away from you hurts like hell. Then stop choosing it. It's not that simple. It is, she said softly. You just don't want to. Her calmness scared me more than her anger ever could. Elena, I said, reaching for her hand, I'm doing this for our future. She hesitated before letting me touch her. And what if your future doesn't need me by the time it arrives? I stared at her, words stuck in my throat. Don't say that. I'm not saying it to hurt you. I'm saying it because I feel it. I squeezed her hand tighter. Then tell me how to fix it. She met my eyes, beautiful, distant, unreadable. I don't think you can fix something you don't notice breaking. The next day, Lena dropped by the office with lunch. You look like death, she said, setting the box on my desk. Thanks for the pep talk, I muttered. She sat opposite me. You're doing it again, aren't you? Doing what? Pouring everything into people who don't meet you halfway. I frowned. You don't even know Elena that well. I know the version of you she leaves behind, she said. And I don't like him much. That's unfair. Is it? She said. When was the last time you laughed without checking your phone? I stayed quiet. She loves you, sure, Lena continued, but love doesn't survive neglect. Don't lose yourself trying to prove you're enough for someone who already doubts it. I sighed, leaning back. You always think you're right. That's because I usually am, she said with a teasing smile. Now eat. You're not impressing anyone starving. I laughed weakly. You sound like Mom. She'd say the same thing, Lena replied. Just, don't let your heart become collateral damage, okay? That night, after Lena left, I sat alone staring at the velvet box in my drawer. The ring glimmered under the desk lamp. I imagined Elena's face, her smile, her soft laugh, the way she used to look at me before ambition turned love into distance. Maybe this would remind her what we were. I booked a private dinner 2 days later. Candlelight. Her favorite restaurant. She arrived in a silver dress that made every thought I had about failure disappear. "Why so nervous?" she asked, tilting her head. I swallowed hard. "You'll see." Dinner passed in fragments, her laughter, my racing heart, the soft music behind us. When dessert came, I stood and took her hand. "Elena," I said, my voice trembling, "I've loved you since the moment you walked into my office and told me my presentation slides were ugly." She laughed quietly. "They were. And you were right," I smiled. "You've been right about a lot of things. Including me needing to slow down. I'm ready to listen now. Because none of this, money, success, long nights, means anything without you." Her eyes glistened, but her expression stayed guarded. I knelt, opening the box. "Will you marry me?" For a second, time stopped. Then she whispered, "Yes." The room erupted into soft applause. I stood and hugged her, but as she leaned into me, I saw it, something missing in her eyes. No sparkle. No relief. Just acceptance. I tried to ignore it. Maybe love changes after years together. Maybe I was imagining things. But as I held her close, a quiet voice inside me whispered, "She's slipping away, and you don't even know why." I got to the office before sunrise. The floor was quiet, lights dim. Then I heard it, soft laughter behind the glass conference room door. Her voice. "Elena." And another. "Ryan." For a second, I smiled. Maybe they were planning something for the wedding. Then I looked through the glass. She was sitting on the table edge, his hand brushing her knee. Too close. Too easy. Too comfortable. My throat went dry. I pushed the door open like nothing happened. "Morning," I said, forcing a grin. Ryan jumped a little. "Hey, man. You're early." "Yeah," I said, dropping my bag. "Didn't expect anyone else to be here." Elena smiled, small, nervous. "We were just talking about the launch party." I nodded, pretending to buy it. "Of course." Ryan straightened his tie. "We'll nail this campaign. Just like always." "Right," I said quietly. "Just like always." I felt the air tighten around us. Her perfume still lingered when I walked out. My hands were shaking so hard I had to shove them into my pockets. That night, I sat on the couch waiting. When Elena came home, she froze. "You're home early," she said. "So are you." She dropped her bag, eyes darting toward me. "What's wrong?" "I saw you today," I said. "At the office." Her expression didn't even flicker. "What about it?" "With Ryan." My voice cracked. "Tell me it wasn't what it looked like." "It depends on what you think it looked like." "Elena," I whispered, "don't do that. Please." She sighed and sat across from me. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." "Then tell me I'm wrong." She didn't. I felt my chest tighten. "How long?" She didn't meet my eyes. "A few months." I swallowed hard. "Months." "You were never home," she said softly. "You were always chasing something, money, goals, validation. I tried to keep up, but you were never really with me." "So you found someone who was," I said. "My best friend." Her voice stayed calm. "He was there when you weren't." I laughed bitterly. "That's your justification." "It's not justification. It's truth." I stood up, pacing. "Do you love him?" She hesitated. That silence answered more than words ever could. I turned away. "You could have told me." "I didn't want to hurt you." "You think this hurts less?" She looked down. "I didn't plan it." People don't plan betrayal, I said. They just stop saying no. Her lips trembled for the first time. I'm sorry. I stared at the engagement ring on her finger, my promise, my pride, my failure. It mocked me under the light. I was going to spend my life with you, I said quietly. Do you understand that? She whispered, you already spent it, just not with me. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. I can't do this, I said finally. I can't even look at you. She wiped her tears and whispered, maybe that's for the best. The next morning, I found Ryan waiting in my office. Before you say anything, he started, it just happened, man. I didn't mean. Don't, I cut in. Don't feed me that. I swear, it's not what you think. You were with her for months, I snapped. You were my friend. He exhaled. I am your friend. Friends don't touch what's not theirs. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I didn't want to hurt you. She said you were done. That you were distant. So that made it okay. He stayed silent. Get out, I said. Man, listen. I said get out. He froze, guilt written all over his face, then left without another word. When the door shut, I let out the breath I'd been holding since morning. Everything I built, my company, my friendships, my love, suddenly felt like a lie. By noon, I was packing my things. That's when Mr. Collins walked in. You're leaving? He asked softly. I am. He looked at the boxes, then at me. You built this place from dust. Don't let anger destroy your legacy. It's not anger, I said. It's disgust. He nodded slowly. Ryan's reckless, but talented. Elena's ambitious. People like them burn bright, then burn out. I don't want to watch that happen. Then don't, he said. Disappear. Let silence be your answer. It'll haunt them more than revenge. I looked at him. You think I can just walk away? You'll learn, he said quietly. Sometimes walking away is revenge. That night, I stood in my empty apartment. Boxes sealed, lights off. Elena's keys were still on the counter. The ring lay beside them, shining like it had one last laugh left in it. Lena called as I zipped my bag. Where are you? She asked. Leaving. What happened? I finally saw the truth, I said. And I don't like what it looked like. Her voice softened. You don't have to face it alone. I do, I said. Because I let it happen. That's not true. It is. I was so busy proving my worth I forgot to protect my heart. She sighed. So what now? I disappear. Forever. For as long as it takes to stop feeling like this. She paused. I'll be here when you're ready. Thank you, I whispered. I hung up, looked around one last time, and walked out. The city lights blurred through the rain as I stepped into the night. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing anything. I was just walking away. I don't remember the drive out of the city, just the blur of headlights, the static hum of the radio, and my hands gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. The new city didn't care who I was. The walls of my apartment were thin, the neighbors loud, and the air always smelled faintly of burnt coffee and rain. Perfect for disappearing. Every night, I sat at my desk, laptop open, cursor blinking against the emptiness. Work came in fragments, freelance gigs, temporary contracts. Just enough to survive. Silence became my only companion, and I grew comfortable in it. Sometimes, though, the silence cracked. At 2 a.m., I'd open social media and type her name. Elena. Then Ryan's. Photos of them at company events, smiling like they'd never burned anyone alive. Their world gleamed, mine rotted. I'd whisper, you won, didn't you, but the echo never answered. One morning, at a cafe down the street, I met Maya. She spilled her drink trying to carry too many cups. I caught one before it fell. "Nice reflexes," she said, laughing nervously. "Occupational hazard," I muttered. "Occupational hazard?" "Freelancer," I said. "Deadlines attack from every direction." She smiled, simple, kind, uncalculated. "Then let me buy you another coffee. As thanks for saving this one." I almost said no. I almost walked away. But something in her tone felt quiet. Real. We sat by the window. She talked more than I did, and I preferred it that way. I learned she worked at a small bookstore, loved jazz, hated silence. "You're new here," she said finally. "You look like someone trying to remember how to breathe." That hit harder than it should have. "Yeah," I said softly. "Something like that." Maya didn't press. She just sipped her coffee and let the silence exist without judgment. After that, I kept running into her. Same cafe, same corner seat. Sometimes we'd talk, sometimes just sit in companionable quiet. Her presence was steadying. She never asked about my past, and I never offered it. The days began to stretch again. I started reading more, running at dawn, eating meals instead of skipping them. The pain didn't fade, it just changed shape. One afternoon, I told her, "I've been thinking of starting something new. A business." She raised an eyebrow. "You sound like you already have." "Maybe." "Then do it," she said. "Whatever broke you, don't let it keep the best parts hostage." I didn't tell her that everything I'd built once had been turned into ashes by people I trusted. I didn't tell her how afraid I was to try again. But her words lingered. I began drafting plans that night, small, hidden, nameless at first. I poured everything into it, skill, anger, sleepless focus. I found David through a mutual freelancer forum. He was sharp, decisive, and uninterested in my backstory. "Perfect. You've got good instincts," he said after our first call. "But you plan like someone who's been burned." "Maybe I have." He laughed. "Good. Burn scars make us careful." We built quietly. No social media. No flashy launches. Just progress, steady, invisible. Months passed, and clients doubled. Within a year, the company started to breathe on its own. I didn't celebrate. I couldn't. Maya noticed. "You should be proud," she said one evening as we walked home from the cafe. "I'm just surviving," I replied. "Then maybe surviving is the victory." Her words hit me harder than she knew. At night, I'd stare at the city lights outside my window, different skyline, same restlessness. I thought about Elena's calm face when she admitted the affair. About Ryan's silence. About how easily they moved on. But I didn't stalk their profiles anymore. Didn't type their names. Instead, I checked numbers, growth charts, revenue lines, contracts signed. I watched my company climb, not theirs. Sometimes, I wondered what they'd think if they knew. If they realized the ghost they buried had built something stronger than before. But I didn't want revenge. Not anymore. I wanted peace. And maybe, somewhere between the silence and the work, I was finally learning how to find it. 3 years. That's how long it took for the world to remember me, and for me to stop caring whether it did. When the news broke, I was in a board meeting. David was mid-presentation when my phone buzzed. The headline made me pause: "Titan Innovations faces financial collapse." I stared at it. My old company. Ryan's empire. David noticed. Something wrong? I forced a smile. Just old ghosts making noise. He smirked. The kind that deserve to stay buried? Exactly. I slipped the phone away. But inside, something stirred, not joy, not satisfaction. Something quieter. A strange, hollow vindication. That evening, I told Maya. She set down her coffee slowly. You saw the news. I did. You're not saying anything. What's there to say? I asked. They made their choices. Still, she said softly, it must feel poetic. I shrugged. Maybe once, it would have. Now it just feels inevitable. Maya studied me. You've changed. The old you would have toasted this moment. The old me didn't understand peace. She smiled faintly. Fate has its own way of balancing the scales. Maybe, I said. Or maybe people just trip over their own lies eventually. She leaned forward. So what will you do? Nothing. Let time handle it. For days, I avoided reading more. But stories found me anyway, headlines, whispers, messages from old contacts. Bad investments, unpaid vendors, rumors of Ryan's arrogance catching up to him. Then came a photo. Elena, at some industry event, her mascara streaked, face pale under the camera flash. Sources say internal conflict tears Titan apart. I closed the article and exhaled slowly. Maya's voice replayed in my head, fate balances the scales. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived at my office. No name on the outside, but the gold emblem was familiar. I tore it open. A charity gala invitation. Sponsored by Titan Innovations. David glanced over as I read it. That's your old company, isn't it? Was, I said. They invited you under your real name. Apparently, it still carries weight. He leaned back in his chair. Are you going? I haven't decided. He smiled knowingly. You already have. I didn't answer. That night, I told Maya. She frowned. You sure that's a good idea? It's not about them, I said. It's about me. I spent years running from that name. Maybe it's time I stopped. She studied me, searching for any sign of malice. You're not doing this to gloat. I shook my head. I don't need revenge. I just want to see what I left behind. Maya sighed. Then promise me something. What? If you go, go with grace. Don't let them pull you back into the past. I won't, I said quietly. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. Still, when the night came, I stood in front of the mirror longer than I should have. The tux felt heavier than it should. Every knot I tightened brought back memories I'd rather forget, the ring I once placed on her finger, the office laughter behind a closed door. When I arrived, cameras flashed, lights blazed, and my name rippled through the crowd like a ghost resurrected. Is that him? Someone whispered. I thought he disappeared. I just smiled and nodded politely, walking past them. The hall glittered with excess, chandeliers, champagne, rehearsed laughter. The kind of world I once built and destroyed myself in. David found me near the bar. You sure about this? Too late to leave now. Then keep that poker face, he said. You're the ghost they never expected to haunt this place. He wasn't wrong. From across the room, I saw them. Ryan's posture was still confident, but the exhaustion showed. Elena stood beside him, eyes hollow, her smile strained. Their gaze found me almost simultaneously. The color drained from both faces. Ryan recovered first. He walked toward me, glass in hand. Didn't think I'd see you again. I could say the same, I replied evenly. He hesitated. You look good. Heard your company's doing well. It's surviving, I said. Surviving's better than sinking, he muttered, glancing away. Elena joined him, her voice trembling. You came. I was invited. Silence settled, heavy, awkward, fragile. She tried to smile. You must think we're pathetic. No, I said softly. I think you're human. Her eyes glistened. You don't hate me. I did, I admitted. For a long time. But hate takes too much space. I needed it back. She nodded slowly, tears threatening to fall. I'm sorry, she whispered. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. We all made mistakes. I met his gaze. Yes. But some of us learn from them. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I finished my drink, placed the glass down, and turned to leave. Maya's words echoed in my head, go with grace. At the door, I looked back once, not at them, but at the reflection in the marble floor. I didn't see the man they destroyed anymore. I saw the one who rebuilt himself from the silence. Outside, the night air was cold but clean. David caught up to me. Closure. I nodded. Finally. I stood at the entrance of the ballroom, the murmur of voices dipping as I stepped into the light. My reflection in the marble floor stared back, composed, unrecognizable. The black suit wasn't expensive, just sharp enough to command silence. Whispers rippled. Is that him? I thought he disappeared. Didn't he start that new tech firm? I smiled faintly and moved through them. The chandelier light glinted off crystal glasses, laughter bouncing off golden walls, the same kind of laughter that once hid betrayal. Then I saw her. Elena froze mid-conversation, her glass trembling slightly. Ryan stood beside her, face tightening before stretching into a forced smile. Wow, he said as I approached, look who decided to crawl out of the shadows. I didn't crawl, I said evenly. I walked. His smirk faltered. Elena tried to speak. You look alive? I offered. You look surprised. Her lips parted, but no words came. Ryan clinked his glass against mine, pretending calm. No hard feelings, right? Business can be complicated. Business, yes, I replied. But betrayal? That's usually simpler. A few nearby guests turned to listen. He noticed and laughed too loudly. You always had that sense of humor. Must be contagious, I said, smiling thinly. He excused himself under the pretense of greeting someone else, leaving Elena and me standing in the noise. Her voice dropped. Why are you here? Invitation, I said. Didn't want to be rude. You shouldn't have come. Maybe. But it's hard to stay invisible when my name's printed on your banner. Her gaze flicked to the wall where Titan Innovations charity gala was engraved, beneath my original signature, the one they'd kept for prestige. She swallowed hard. That wasn't my decision. I know, I said quietly. You never liked taking responsibility. Her face fell. You're cruel. No, I said. Just honest. It's been a while since anyone was. Before she could respond, a woman with a camera approached. Excuse me, Mr. Hale, may I ask a few questions? Our readers would love to know where you've been. I gave a polite nod. Of course. Her smile brightened. You disappeared after leaving Titan. People say your exit was sudden, mysterious. What happened? I looked straight into the lens. I walked away, I said. So they could see what I looked like without their shadow. The reporter's eyes widened slightly. That's poetic. Truth usually is. The flash went off, bright, blinding, freezing the moment like justice painted in light. Elena turned away, pretending to laugh with someone else, but her hands shook. Ryan returned with a drink, avoiding my gaze. Enjoying the attention, he muttered. Not as much as you used to. He forced a chuckle. We built something great together. I built it, I corrected. You just stood beside me long enough to steal the applause. He leaned closer. You don't get to rewrite history. I don't need to, I said calmly. History writes itself. He looked ready to explode, but the cameras nearby stopped him. I took a step back, watching him drown behind his smile. Maya's voice echoed in my head, go with grace. So I did. I walked away before either of them could react. Outside, the cold hit like truth. The air was cleaner, sharper, untainted by perfume or deceit. The city lights shimmered across the pavement, and for the first time, I breathed without weight pressing on my chest. Wait. Elena's voice cut through the night. Her heels clicked against the concrete as she ran toward me, her shawl slipping off her shoulders. I turned slowly. You shouldn't be out here. I had to talk to you, she said breathlessly. You can't just leave again. I already did, I said. 3 years ago. Her eyes glistened. Please, just hear me out. I made mistakes. I was scared, confused. I raised a hand. Don't rewrite it. You knew exactly what you were doing. I loved you, she whispered. No, I said softly. You loved the version of me who needed your approval. Tears spilled over. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, I said. You hollowed me out. But you also gave me space to rebuild. She took a shaky step closer. Is there nothing left between us? Only memories, I said. And I've stopped visiting them. Her voice cracked. You've changed. Pain does that. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The city hummed quietly around us. She finally whispered, Ryan's falling apart. The company's done. Everything's gone. I know, I said. That's between him and Karma. Her tears fell faster. And me? You'll find another dream to hide in. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Goodbye, Elena. Her voice broke. You're really walking away again? I nodded once. This time, it's not running, it's freedom. As I turned to leave, her sobs followed me down the marble steps. The night wind wrapped around me like armor. For years, I imagined revenge would roar, loud, dramatic, merciless. But standing there, calm and untouchable, I realized something: silence cuts deeper than any scream. And in that silence, I finally heard peace breathing again. The knock came late, quiet, hesitant, like guilt trying to disguise itself as courage. I opened the door and froze. Elena stood there, wrapped in a long coat, hair damp from rain. Her eyes searched my face, desperate, haunted. Can I come in? She whispered. I stepped aside without a word. She moved past me slowly, as if afraid the ground might break under her. This place, she murmured, glancing around my small apartment. It's so quiet. It suits me, I said. She turned to me, voice trembling. I didn't know where else to go. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You could have gone anywhere, Elena. You usually do. She flinched. Please, don't, just listen. I said nothing. I need to tell you the truth, she said. About everything. About Ryan. I raised an eyebrow. The man you betrayed me for. Her eyes welled up. He used me. He made me think you were the problem, that you were hiding money, making bad deals. I believed him because I wanted to believe someone cared. I let out a slow breath. And when did you realize you were wrong? The day after you left. Her voice cracked. He showed his real face. He took control of the company, froze me out, made me sign things I didn't understand. I thought I could fix it. But I only made it worse. I studied her. The woman in front of me wasn't the one I remembered, no confidence, no fire. Just exhaustion. Do you know what it felt like watching you walk away? She asked. Like the world tilted and never stopped spinning. I met her gaze. You were the one who pushed. Tears spilled over. I know. I know I destroyed us. But I never stopped thinking about you. I tried to forget, but I couldn't. I stayed quiet. Let her fill the silence with everything she'd buried. I saw you at the gala, she whispered. You looked untouchable. I couldn't breathe. You destroyed everything, and yet you came out stronger. I finally spoke. Because pain taught me what love never could, self-respect. Her lips trembled. I deserve that. No, I said. You deserve honesty. And this is it, I don't hate you. I just don't feel anything anymore. She took a shaky step closer. But I still love you. I shook my head. You love the memory of me. The version that would have forgiven you no matter what. That man's gone. Her hands clenched at her sides. Can't you give me another chance? Just to prove I've changed? I looked at her, really looked. The same eyes that once made me believe in forever now looked like windows to a life I no longer wanted. Forgiveness isn't the same as return, I said softly. She blinked rapidly. Then, there's nothing left. Closure, I replied. That's all that's left. She covered her mouth to muffle a sob. I ruined everything I touched. You did, I said gently. But you don't have to keep doing it. Then why does it still hurt? Because guilt doesn't fade, it just learns to live with you. Her tears fell freely now. I thought if I came here, maybe you'd see the old me again. I can't, I said. Because that old version of you died the day you lied to my face. She staggered back slightly, as if my words hit her harder than any slap could. I'm sorry, she whispered, voice breaking. For everything. For not seeing you when you were right in front of me. I know, I said. And I hope someday you forgive yourself. Her breath hitched. So that's it? After everything we were? That's it. Silence. The kind that feels final. She took a trembling breath and nodded. Then, goodbye. Goodbye, Elena. She turned, shoulders shaking, and walked toward the door. I followed, not to stop her, just to make sure she left. At the threshold, she looked back once. You really don't feel anything? I opened the door wider. Peace, I said. That's what I feel. She stepped into the hall, rain still falling outside. For a second, I thought she might say something else, another plea, another regret. But she didn't. I closed the door quietly behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment, soft but final. Forgiveness didn't feel like fire or relief, just stillness. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing ghosts. I was simply free. Maya poured coffee into 2 cups, her quiet hum filling the apartment. Have you heard? She asked. About Ryan? I looked up from my phone. Yeah. Fraud charges. It was only a matter of time. She nodded slowly. And Elena? Gone. Disappeared from the radar. I leaned back, feeling the stillness around me. Funny how silence follows the loudest people. Maya smiled faintly. You sound calm. I am, I said. For the first time in years. The city outside my window felt softer, slower. I'd walked those same streets once with anger burning behind every step. Now, I just walked. No ghosts trailing, no names echoing behind me. You ever think about seeing her again? Maya asked quietly. I sipped the coffee. No. Some doors aren't meant to reopen. She didn't push further. That's what I liked about her, the space she gave, the silence she didn't try to fill. A beat passed before I spoke again. You know what the hardest part was? Maya tilted her head. What? Not the betrayal. Not losing everything. It was realizing how much noise I carried after it ended. Every thought, every what if, every imaginary argument. I let it live rent-free in my head. And now? Now, I just let it go. She looked at me with something soft, admiration maybe, or relief. You've changed. I had to, I said. Pain's a good teacher. It teaches you what not to touch again. Later that evening, I walked down familiar streets, the kind that used to ache just to look at. The city lights shimmered on wet pavement, and for a moment, I saw the reflection of my old self, desperate, angry, waiting for closure that never came. The old cafe stood on the corner, same chipped sign, same dim lights. I stepped inside. The air smelled of roasted beans and old memories. Hey, the barista said. Haven't seen you here in years. I used to come here often. I replied, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. Want your usual? I smiled faintly. Sure. Why not? As I waited, I looked at the table near the window, our table. I could almost hear her laugh again, the way she used to trace circles on her cup when she lied, the way I pretended not to notice. When the coffee arrived, I placed my hand in my pocket. The ring was still there, cold metal, heavier than it should have been. I turned it between my fingers, feeling every etched promise that never survived the truth. Maya's voice echoed in my head, you've changed. Maybe I finally had. I stood, walked to that table, and placed the ring on the surface. The faint clink of metal against wood sounded final, not dramatic, not angry, just, done. A couple sitting nearby looked up. The woman smiled politely. Beautiful ring. Used to be, I said, then walked past her before she could reply. Outside, the night breeze brushed against my face. The air smelled cleaner somehow. I breathed in, slow and deep, as though the city itself had exhaled with me. When I reached the corner, I looked back one last time. The cafe's window glowed softly, the ring glinting faintly under the hanging bulb. It looked smaller from a distance, like something that had finally lost its weight. My phone buzzed. A message from Maya, did you find what you were looking for? I typed back, no. But I found what I needed to leave behind. She replied with a heart emoji. Simple. Uncomplicated. I slipped my phone away, hands in my pockets, and started walking again. Each step felt lighter, freer. The city didn't feel haunted anymore, it just felt alive. Somewhere behind me, stories were collapsing, scandals, regrets, whispers of what could have been. But none of it belonged to me now. I looked up at the skyline, the stars faint against the glow. Some stories don't need revenge, I murmured, the words forming like a truth I'd waited years to say. Just distance. The wind carried it away, and for once, I didn't want it back. The auditorium lights dimmed just enough for me to see faces, young, eager, unscarred. Rows of eyes waited, notebooks open, pens ready to record lessons I'd learned the hard way. I adjusted the mic. Resilience, I began, isn't about never falling. It's about standing up after everything inside you says not to. A student in the third row raised his hand. Sir, how did you find strength after betrayal? The room fell quiet. Even the hum of the air conditioner seemed to pause. I smiled faintly. By learning when to walk away. A few heads tilted, pens hesitating. I let the silence breathe. I used to think strength meant fighting until you won, I continued, pacing slowly across the stage. But sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop fighting, especially for people who would rather watch you burn than stand beside you. A murmur rippled through the audience, recognition, maybe. The kind that comes from invisible wounds. I spotted her then, Maya. Front row. Her hair was shorter now, her smile softer but the same calm warmth that once steadied me through chaos. Our eyes met, and something inside me quieted. She mouthed, "You've got this." I nodded slightly, my throat tightening. "See," I said, forcing a small laugh, "life has this way of teaching you lessons you never asked for." Mine came wrapped in betrayal and loss. But it gave me something more valuable than revenge, perspective. A girl near the aisle leaned forward. "So, you forgave them?" I met her gaze. "Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. It's the moment you stop letting their choices define your peace." Another hand went up. "Do you ever think about what could have been?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But what could have been is just another name for what wasn't meant to be." Laughter rippled softly through the room. I smiled with them, not bitterly, not proudly. Just, at ease. "When I lost everything," I said, "I thought it was the end of my story. Turns out, it was just a rewrite. Sometimes, you have to burn the old chapters to make room for the truth." I paused, my eyes finding Maya again. She didn't look away. Neither did I. "Love," I said quietly, "isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to stop chasing what was never yours." For a moment, no one moved. Then the applause began, hesitant at first, then full. I stepped back, letting the sound wash over me, not as validation, but as closure. When the talk ended, students crowded around, handshakes, thanks, compliments. I smiled, answered questions, signed a few notebooks. But my gaze kept drifting to the exit, to where the light from the setting sun painted the hallway gold. Maya approached as the crowd thinned. "You still make silence sound powerful," she said softly. "Guess I had enough practice," I replied. She laughed. "You looked at peace up there." "I am," I said. "Finally." She studied me for a moment. "Ever wonder what your life would have looked like if none of it happened?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But then I remember, if it hadn't, I wouldn't be standing here. I'd still be trying to fix something that was already gone." She nodded. "You've learned to let go." "Had to," I said. "Otherwise, I'd still be living in someone else's story." Maya smiled, a small, knowing curve of her lips. "So, what's next?" I looked toward the glass doors where the last rays of sunlight spilled across the floor. "I think I'll just keep walking. No plans. No revenge. Just peace." She touched my arm lightly. "That sounds like freedom." "It is." I walked toward the exit, the sound of fading applause echoing behind me. Each step felt like a closing chapter, not dramatic, not heavy, just final. Outside, the evening light kissed the skyline in hues of gold and blue. The air carried that faint scent of rain and possibility. For years, I had walked away from people, places, dreams, always looking back, wondering if I'd made a mistake. But this time, I didn't. The glass doors slid shut behind me, and I felt the last weight lift, the quiet kind that doesn't make a sound when it leaves. Somewhere inside, my voice replayed the words I'd said on stage, "Walking away is the ultimate revenge." But now, I knew it wasn't revenge at all. It was peace, and I finally belonged to it.